Well, wonderful. Thank you all so much for joining me for a 60-minute Yin Yoga class. As you may know, Yin Yoga is a floor-based style of yoga. It's very slow-paced. We will hold postures for 3 to 5 minutes. Yin Yoga comes out of the idea of like yin and yang, right? So yang energy is more energetic, solar. Some people say that it's masculine versus yin energy. Some people say it's more feminine, it's more lunar, it's more relaxed. So in a yang style of yoga, like 26 and 2 yoga, power yoga, vinyasa yoga, stuff like that, you're contracting muscles to get into postures. In yin yoga, you're relaxing muscles to get into postures. And you want to do about like 70% of what you think you should be doing. Because we hold the postures for long periods of time, you'll work not just into muscle tightness, you'll also work into your fascia, into tendons, ligaments, all the connective tissue in the body. So sometimes when we're holding a posture, at first it doesn't feel like much. About halfway through, we're really uncomfortable, and then we breathe into the end. Sometimes just holding postures for a long period of time is a challenge in and of itself. We're going to start with a breathing exercise just to start to, really center us in the present moment. And it's called even breathing. It's pretty simple. The idea is you inhale and exhale for an even amount of time. I'm working with someone in private classes who has like extreme hypertension, and even breathing has been shown to reduce blood pressure, and I've been doing it with him. And even though as a yoga teacher, I really believe in yoga, every once in a while I'm like, wow, this stuff really works. So I've been enjoying even breathing in my own life, and I hope you will enjoy it as well. It's great for kind of calming the body. So you're going to find yourself in a comfortable seated position. You can sit up nice and tall, evenly distribute your body weight on both sit bones, drop your shoulders. If it feels good, you can close your eyes. Closing your eyes is distracting. You can keep your eyes open, but do a soft, fuzzy gaze just beyond the tip of your nose. We're going to start with a 4 count for the in and out, and we'll work our way up to a 6 count. All right, begin. Inhale through your nose for 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale through your nose. 1, 2, 3, 4. Inhale through your nose. 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale through your nose. 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathe in. Breathe out. Inhale for a count of 4. Exhale for a count of 4. Inhale. Exhale. This time, inhale for a count of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale through your nose. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale through your nose. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale. Exhale. Breathe in for 5. Breathe out for 5. Inhale. And exhale. This time, breathe in for 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Breathe out for 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale through your nose for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Exhale through your nose for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale for a count of 6. And slowly exhale for a count of 6. Inhale, feel your chest rise. Exhale, feel your shoulders fall. Inhale. Exhale, let your hands be heavy. Last one, breathe in. And when you're ready, empty out. Wonderful. You're welcome to open your eyes. If at any point in class your mind gets a little distracted or your body starts to fidget, you can just return your thoughts to your breath. Our first posture is a wide-legged child's pose. Come into a tabletop position. From here, bring your feet together, open your knees, and sit back onto your heels. We're going to start with the hands behind us, taking a counter stretch. So squeeze palms together, drop hands down, lift your chin and chest up, feel a little back bend here at the beginning of class. As you're ready, you're going to fold forward, stomach to thighs, chest to knees, maybe forehead to floor. Take a moment, lift your arms up overhead for a shoulder rinse. Bring your arms back down to your lower back. Release the grip on your hands, bring your arms wide, circle your arms around, and then bring your arms forward. Palms to the floor, forehead to the floor, hips down towards the heels. This is child's pose, and we're going to hold here for 4 minutes. Now, a couple things to keep in mind. If you have tight toes, ankles, or knees, sitting down like this for a long period of time might be uncomfortable. You're welcome to roll up your mat so there's extra padding under your toes, ankles, or knees. You can also grab a blanket or pillow nearby. It doesn't have to be a fancy yoga prop, just something that you might have in your own home. You're welcome to put a blanket under your knees, under your chest. You can also place a blanket between your calves and your hips. So in the first minute or so of a yin yoga posture, we're just trying to figure out a shape that works for our body, right? And if having the arms in front of you is uncomfortable, you can also have your arms down or arms down by your side in fetal pose. So at first, we're just finding a position that feels right. There's 3 kind of tenets of yin yoga. You make a shape with your body, and then you hold the shape, and then you breathe. That's it. Make a shape, hold a shape, breathe. Now again, remember that we're here for a long period of time. We've already been here for a little over a minute, right? We're going to be here for about 3 more minutes. If at first you don't feel like you feel much of a stretch, just wait a bit. When we're at like the halfway point, if you still don't feel much of a stretch, maybe that's when you try reaching the arms forward more, sinking the hips down. But keep in mind that you want to do about 70% of what you think you should be doing. To get a deeper hip opener, you can also bring the knees further apart, or if that's uncomfortable, you can try bringing your knees closer together. If at any point during your yin class, a posture that you're holding does not feel right for your body, it's causing you harm, please feel free to switch what you're doing. Sometimes we can be so stubborn, we don't want to like change our shape, even when our shape is not helping us. If what you're doing does not feel right for your body, you can always switch it up. Just notice the difference between moving to get out of pain or discomfort versus moving because it's really uncomfortable to sit still. Yoga is a practice, and so is stillness.
So we're just practicing a little bit of stillness and a little bit of breath. Breathing in and breathing out. We have about 1.5 minutes left. About 30 seconds left. This is the point if you'd like to go a little deeper. Maybe think about reaching your arms forward as you sink your hips down. Child's pose is a wonderful hip opener. It's great for stretching out the toes, ankles, knees, and it's a nice stretch through the whole spine, the neck, the shoulders. Take a slow inhale through your nose, reach forward. Slow exhale through your nose, sink down. Breathe in and empty out. As you're ready, you're going to place your hands on the floor, slowly walk yourself up. Please take your time when you come out of long held postures. There's no rush. You can do any sort of counter movement that feels good to your body. And then we're going to turn around and find ourselves in our first puddle pose. You can lie on your back. So in many styles of yoga and yang styles of yoga, we would call this lying on our back motion Savasana or corpse pose. In Yin Yoga, we call it Puddle Pose. It's a little bit more freestyle. You can open your arms and legs as much as you'd like. You can have your palms facing the ceiling or the floor. If lying on your back with your legs straight is uncomfortable to your lower spine, you're welcome to place a small blanket under your lower back. You can also bend your legs so that your feet are on the floor and your knees rest side by side, and that will take pressure off of your lumbar spine. So again, the tenets of Yin Yoga are you make a shape, you hold a shape, and you breathe. And then after that, when we slowly come out of the posture, I'll give you a moment to do any sort of, counter stretch or moving around that feels right for your body. And then we'll find ourselves in some version of puddle pose, right? Whether it's on our back or our side or our abdomen. So that's kind of the schedule for our lovely Yin Yoga class. We find ourselves in puddle pose in between all the postures as a way to reset. Again, if you hold a posture for like 30 seconds or a minute, you stretch and strengthen muscles and you maybe start to open joints. But when we hold postures for long periods of time, we really work into connective tissue. So it's good to take a moment to relax in between postures. This helps the body kind of recalibrate. Everything kind of realigns, resets. Take an inhale through your nose. And then exhale through your nose. Next, we're going to do banana pose, a fan favorite. Picture in your mind your favorite banana. It can be super ripe, it can be brown and bruised, it can be green, it can be Chiquita, Dole, Trader Joe's, Fair Trade, Organic, Costco, whatever it is for you. And we're gonna make that banana shape with our body. Bring your feet close together, take a moment, bring your arms overhead. And if you'd like, you can just stretch up and down in kind of a pencil position, maybe flex your toes back, reach your arms forward like you're having a good yawn in the morning. And then from here, start to bring your feet to the right side of your mat and your hands to the right side of your mat. So from a bird's eye view, your body makes a banana shape. A couple options, you can cross one hand on top of the other. You can also cross your left foot on top of your right foot if you'd like a little IT band stretch to the outer left thigh. To get deeper into the posture, you can bring your hands and feet closer to the right side of the room. If it's ever too much of a stretch, you can bring your hands and feet closer to the center line of your mat. You're welcome to have your head flat on the floor or roll your right ear down towards the floor. We're going to hold here for 3 minutes. We are already a minute in. So banana pose is a really wonderful posture to take towards the beginning of class. It's a great side stretch to one side of the body and gentle compression to the other side of the body. For those of you that practice 26 into yoga, this is like a yin version of half moon at the beginning of class, right? We're just waking up the spine, waking up the body. Again, in more yang styles of yoga, right? We hold half moon for 30 seconds, a minute. If you're in Mary Jarvis's class, 2 minutes. But other than that, right, we're never holding it for 3 minutes versus here, we're really just relaxing into the posture. So rather than forcing or fighting or contracting muscles to get deeper, see where you can relax and breathe. Think about melting into the floor and let the floor hold you up. We have about 1 minute left in the posture. Notice where you might be holding on to tension. See if you can just consciously relax and let go a little bit through the exhale breath. With about 30 seconds left, you can stay just as you are, knowing that the end is near, or you can bring your hands and feet a little bit closer to the right side of the room for a deeper stretch to the left side body and gentle compression to the right side body. Breathe in. And let it all go through the exhale breath. Inhale. And empty out. We're going to slowly make our way out of the posture. If you're looking a little to the right, roll your head back to center. If your hands or feet are crossed, uncross. Slowly, carefully take your time, bringing your arms and legs back to the center line of your mat, and then bring your arms down. Any sort of motion you want to make, like if you want to roll your butt or your shoulders out or anything like that, feel free to do so. And then make your way into your puddle shape. And we're just witnessing our body here. Just noticing anything you might feel as you come out of that side stretch. Sometimes we feel a lot when we're in a posture or when we come out of it, and sometimes we really don't feel anything at all. And as a reminder, there's no right or wrong answer to that. First of all, a posture that speaks to you might not speak to somebody else, and that's okay. But also, even a subtle shift in the body is wonderful. Sometimes we think bigger is better, right? Like a bigger stretch is better, but actually sometimes just stretching 1 inch is exactly what you need. Let's do the other side. Bring your feet close together, arms overhead, and you can stretch your legs back, arms forward like you're having a nice yawn. Now I'm yawning. And then as you're ready, start to bring your hands and feet to the left side of the room. And if you crossed your foot or hand on the other side, maybe do so on this side as well. That being said, we're not symmetrical, so this side might feel a little or a lot different. You might know why, like a shoulder hip injury, or you might have had no idea until now that wow, my right thigh is way tighter than my left thigh, and that's okay too. Yoga gives us an opportunity to notice our incongruencies, to address them, And to also be okay with the fact that like one knee might always be tighter than the other, and that's fine. Nowhere in yoga does it say that nowhere in, the Upanishads and Bhagavad Gita, nowhere in any of the ancient Vedic texts does it say the goal of yoga is to become symmetrical. The goal of yoga is self-realization, right? And part of self-realization is realizing like, my right side neck is tighter than my left side neck. So if one side feels different than the other, that's okay. Just breathing with the body. We've about 1.5 minutes left. With about 30 seconds left, this is the moment. If you'd like to go a little deeper, stretching your feet and hands closer to the left side of the room, you're welcome to, or you can stay just as you are. Inhale through your nose. Soften through the exhale breath. Anything you want to let go of, inhale. And then let it go, exhale. Okay, if you're looking to the left, roll your head back. If your hands or feet are crossed, uncross hands and feet. And then slowly, carefully walk your hands and feet back to the center line of your body. Again, any little counter stretch or rolling out you want to do, feel free. And then lie down, arms and legs down. Puddle pose. Okay, when you're ready, bend your legs so your feet are on the floor if they're not already, and then roll off to one side. You can take a moment on your side here. You can even hug your knees in and give yourself a big hug. And then keep rolling over, put your hands on the floor and press yourself up. Next, we're going to do a posture called Dragon Pose, which I sometimes don't do because it's not the easiest for me, but those are the postures that we actually need the most. So for Dragon Pose, you're going to find yourself in a tabletop position. We're going to take some time getting into this one, don't worry. From here, simply place one foot in between your hands so your knee is over your ankle. And then from here, you're going to let that other leg go back. You can repeatedly tuck your toes under to let the leg go back. So this is what's called Baby Dragon. And before we get into any of the variations of this posture, I'm going to show you some things to keep in mind, especially if you have tight knees, ankles, shins, anything like that. So for my folks where this posture does not feel pleasant on your knees, a couple options. You can place a blanket, a pillow, or you can roll up your mat under your knee, and that can take pressure away from the knee. Another fun trick is to place a rolled up blanket under your shin so that your knee is actually hanging off and then there's no pressure on the knee. If you have tight ankle or toes, you can also place a blanket under your toes. And again, to take pressure away from the knee, you can try tucking the toes under or really pushing the foot into the floor. So take a moment here. If this posture is already bothering your knee, you can play around again with placing a blanket under your knee, under your shin, under the toes. You can also really practice either pushing the back foot down or tucking the toes under for some stability there. For my folks who feel a pinch in the hip, I'm going to face you.
in the hip of the leg that's forward. I feel a pinch here too. We don't want to force a range of motion. You can turn your toes out a little bit and let your knee come out to the side to get some relief from the knee. Okay, so the lower body is going to stay in a yin shape, as in we're relaxing into the posture, we're melting into the posture, we're letting the floor hold us up. Different people will feel this posture in different parts of the body. You will probably feel a stretch to the left thigh. You might feel a stretch to the glute or the outer thigh. There's no right or wrong to where you feel this or any posture. Option to stay here, or we can try some different variations with the upper body. The first is flying dragon, and this is a more yang style upper body. You can start by placing your hands on your knee and eventually bring your arms overhead. So you do want to use stability, a locking motion in the abdomen. Try to keep the hips square. This is flying dragon. Number two, you can try a folding dragon. And keep in mind that this bent knee is the dragon's wing, and your dragon can fly, right? So you can flap your wing. Eventually, if you want, you can let the knee come out to the side. You can even fold forward. You can also do a nice twist in any way that feels good for you. So there's lots of options here. We are going to hold this posture on each side for 5 minutes, and we're already 3 minutes through in this first one. So just keep that in mind. The lower body is what you want to stay stable. The lower body is the yin part, but from minute to minute, if you want to go from, holding still in a lunge, basically a runner's lunge, to maybe coming up into a more active posture or doing a twist, you're welcome to go from one to the other, maybe counting, 30 seconds or a minute between each. Another option, if you're, you want to stay folded forward, but coming down this much is a lot of pressure on the shoulders, can also place books or pillows under your hands so that you're a little bit more lifted. A lot of yin yoga uses fancy bolsters and props, but really you can use pillows, blankets, or even books at home to get the stretch. You don't need anything too fancy. We're going to hold here for another minute. If you'd like to do a different variation, you're welcome to. Shoulders away from the ears. Jaw relaxed. 30 more seconds. Take an inhale through your nose. And an exhale through your nose. Good. As you're ready, slowly push yourself up. Take your time. If you would like a counter stretch, I'm going to sink back. So hip to heel, I'm going to stretch the arm forward, drop my head. Now we're stretching the hamstring. Good. If you're doing this counter stretch with me, look forward, push your hands into the floor, come back up. Bring yourself back into a tabletop position, and then lie down for a belly Savasana. Can have your elbows out, arms bent, hands close to the body, hands close to the face, I should say. You can look to one side, or you can bring your arms down by your side, whatever feels good for you. And as you release out of that long held posture, notice what's happening. So for me, I'm feeling a big rush of blood to the right hip, the leg that was bent. You might feel a sensation in your glute, your thigh, your knee, or your ankle. Again, there's no right or wrong. If you're looking to one side of the room, gently lift your head and look to the other side of the room.
I know that posture can be a little bit intense. So before we do the other side, we're actually going to do another posture in between that's lying down so we get some time to relax. So if you're looking to one side, gently lift your head and look forward. From here, start to roll off to one side. So I'm going to roll off facing you so that my left hip stacks on top of my right hip. So I'm on my right side. This is called cat pulling its own tail, which is, I'm just always giddy describing this posture because what a fun delight, cat pulling its own tail. So I'm lying on my right side. You can have your arm out. You can have your ear rest on your arm. And during this posture, if you like, you can also place a pillow under your head so that your neck stays in line with the rest of your spine. That's welcome too. From here, straighten your legs. So you're up and down. Place your left hand on the floor. Keep your left top leg straight and start to bend your right bottom leg. So right bottom leg is bent, left leg is straight. From here, take your left arm up, reach behind you, keep bending that right leg back. Eventually you will catch your right foot with your left hand. Eventually you will grab your right foot with your left hand. Doesn't have to be today or tomorrow, please don't force it, you can just have your arm back. From here, you're gonna kick your left leg out for a nice IT band stretch, side left thigh stretch. And from here, if it feels good, you can start to roll your left shoulder down. So left shoulder on the floor, right shoulder on the floor. You can keep the pillow underneath your head or remove it depending on what feels right for you. I'm gonna have my right arm out to the side as well. And from a bird's eye view, you could now see where like maybe it looks like a cat catching its own tail, right? You're trying to catch your right foot, AKA your tail with your left hand. Eventually left shoulder rolls onto the floor. So this is a great outer thigh stretch. It's a nice spine twist. It's good for digestion, for the abdomen. Nice opener to the spine, the chest. And if you're catching your foot, you might feel a bit of a quadricep stretch as well. We're gonna hold here for 4 minutes. We're already a minute in. Right away, if what you're doing is not serving you, remember that you can loosen the grip on your foot. You can roll back to one side so you're not rolling into a twist. You can bring that left leg down a little bit so it's not kicked out all the way to the side, or you can even just keep your left leg straight, pointing to the back of your mat, right? There's so many options. You want to work within your range of motion. And again, do about 70% of what you think you should be doing. For those of us that enjoy, athletic pursuits in yoga, like difficult postures and like cardiovascular and all that stuff, to me, one of the most difficult things we'll ever do is just sitting still and just being okay with doing a little bit less. So keep in mind, this is a challenge in and of itself. It just maybe looks a little bit different than the challenge of like balancing on one leg, right? But for some people mentally, this is actually a lot harder than hot yoga, just sitting still, just being with yourself and enjoying your own company. About a minute left. Notice where your mind goes when you hear a minute left. Do you feel relief? The need to go deeper? Just notice where your mind goes throughout class with the information that you're given. Make sure that above all else, you're listening to the information that your body is giving you. Too much is too much. About 15 seconds left. Relax what you can relax. Breathe into the tips of your toes, your fingers, the crown of your head. Okay. If you have your right foot in your right hand, slowly release that grip. Bring your left foot back to the bottom of your mat. Straighten your right leg. Roll back to your right side. Do any sort of counter stretches that feel good. And then lie back on your abdomen for another belly savasana. And if lying on your stomach does not feel good, don't do it. Lie on your side or on your back. Same thing if lying on your back doesn't feel good in puddle pose. Don't do it. Lie on your side or on your stomach. So anything that I'm saying that does not work for your body, listen to your body. And if you have any questions after class about like, I just don't get this posture, I don't know, this feels wrong, please feel free to message me. I might not have all the answers, but I probably have some other questions to ask you. I always say, I know a decent amount about yoga. You know a lot about your body, right? You are an expert in your own life. So between my expertise in yoga and your expertise about being a human in your body, we can usually figure out a middle ground that like honors the intentions of a posture, but also honors where you are in this moment. If you're looking to one side in your belly savasana, gently lift your head and look to the other side. Okay, let's give our lower body a break. Look forward, place your hands on the floor, and you're gonna slowly lift yourself up into Sphinx Pose. So this is a nice back bend and just an opportunity to give our IT bands, our hamstrings, our quadriceps and hips a break after the one side of dragon and cat pulling its own tail. I had to think about that for a moment. So for Sphinx Pose, think of your favorite Sphinx. It could be the Sphinx in Egypt, could be at the Luxor in Las Vegas, could be in Harry Potter book 4. Sphinxes are riddlers, right? They like to ask riddles. And if you think about a majestic Sphinx, you want your wrists in line with your elbows, eventually elbows under shoulders. But if having your arms back is too much, you can bring your arms forward. The thing to keep in mind here, notice if the shoulders are hunching up, you're going to drop your shoulders down. So you do want to actively press your forearms into the floor to keep the shoulders out of the ears. This is a great little chest opener and back bend. We're going to hold here for 3 minutes, already a minute in. You can let your feet relax. So when we do back bends, for 30 seconds or a minute, right, we start to open through the front of the body and heel, compress the spine. When we do them for like 2 or 3 minutes, then we really start to stretch the fascia on the chest, right? So think about dropping the shoulders down, stretching through the heart space, opening through the chest, then just keep the lower body relaxed. About 1 minute left. With 30 seconds left, if you would like a deeper back bend, you can go into what's called Seal Pose. Start to straighten your arms. So arms straight, but palms touch the floor. This is a deeper compression to the spine. Drop the shoulders back and down. Lift the chest. Inhale. Exhale. Good, and slowly lower down. Take your time. Again, you can have your elbows bent, hands close to the face, or arms down by your side. If you're looking to one side, gently lift your head and look to the other side. Send deep belly breaths in and out through your nose to massage the front of your body. Breathe deep into any point of tension. Let the floor hold you up. The floor is your friend. Okay, gently lift your head, look forward, place your hands on the floor, and press yourself up. Let's do the other sides of dragon and cat pulling its own tail, starting with dragon. So in the first set, I brought my right foot in front. So in the second set, other side, I'm gonna place my left foot in between my hands. And again, at first, you wanna keep your knee over your ankle. Okay, from here, start to tuck your back toes under, gently push your knee back. You can do this a couple of times until the leg lengthens. From here, remember, if you're feeling a hip pinch on the left front leg, you can turn your toes out and let the knee come open. If you're feeling pain in the knee, the ankle, or the toe, you can place a pillow under your knee, toe, or ankle. If you still feel pressure in the knee, you can try tucking the toes under, pushing the foot down, or placing that blanket underneath the shin so that your knee actually hangs off. We're holding here for 5 minutes. Again, you feel this nice stretch to the right thigh. You might feel a stretch in your seat, in your outer thigh. Again, you do want to take pressure off of the back knee. Option 1, baby dragon. Option 2, you're eventually going to come up, flying dragon. Option 3, you can really start to fold forward and even let that knee come out even further, eventually folding down. Option 4 can do a nice twist. Good. So I'll try to call out on the minute. So if you'd like to do a different variation with the upper body, you're welcome to do one of those each minute. The lower body, you want to keep in a very relaxed yin state. So the lower body stays still. This posture, it's also a really nice warm up if you've ever wanted to do the splits, right? Like eventually this foot would come forward and you would just be in the splits. So know that that's where this is going. This is a nice way to stretch out that hip while still being able to actively push your top foot into the floor. So you're not like all the way stretching into the splits. Okay, we're at another minute mark. If you'd like to try a different variation of your dragon, feel free. And if you're feeling pain in your knee, your ankle, your shin, your wrist, feel free to grab a prop. Again, you can also place books underneath your hands so that you don't have to come down quite as far. We're at another minute mark. If you'd like to fold forward, we have 2 minutes left, or do any other variation that suits you. Again, never forcing the body, working within your range of motion. Notice where you might be holding on to tension. See if you can consciously let the tension go through the exhale breath. One more minute. Feel free to end in a way that feels pleasing to your body in this moment. Good for you. We're learning to honor our body, honor our intentions. I think it's actually a really beautiful thing about Zoom, you know, when there's nobody next to us, even less opportunity to get the ego involved, right? Nobody's watching. You do what feels good for you. Never forcing, never fighting. Take an inhale through your nose, final few moments. Exhale through your nose. We're going to slowly come out. Take your time lifting your hips back up. If you'd like to take that counter stretch, you can sink your hips back to your right heel, maybe flex the left toes back for a hamstring stretch, drop your head, or do any sort of counter stretch that feels right for you. This is what I'm doing. You are welcome to do something different. Good, and when you're ready, you're gonna slowly push yourself up and make your way onto your back. Puddle pose. Arms and legs down. Whew, let everything stretch out. And take a breath. Notice any sensations as you release out of the posture. A lot of teachers describe that posture, dragon pose, as juicy. I don't know why, but the word juicy makes me like a little uncomfortable, but it is juicy, right? So sometimes when we have these like more intense postures, when we release out of them, we also have a more intense like reaction to releasing out of them. So you're just lying still here, just letting the body soften as you breathe through your nose. Okay, let's do the other side of cat pulling its own tail. I'm gonna show you from the side before I switch angles. So you're gonna roll off this time to your left. So I'm gonna face away from you just so you can see what it looks like from behind. You're gonna roll off to your left, and again, you can have your left arm long in front of you. You can also place the pillow under your head. From here, keep your right top leg long. Start to bend your left leg back behind you. Take your right arm up and see if you can catch your left foot with your right hand. If that does not happen today, no worries. Just keep your hand behind you and the leg bent. You're never going beyond what feels right for you. From here, you can start to kick your right leg out to the left for an IT band stretch. And from here, for the spine twist, you can start to roll over to your right so that your right and left shoulder are on the floor. I'm going to have my left arm long out to the left. And we're just going to hold here and breathe for 4 minutes. Already a minute in. Right away, if what you're doing doesn't feel right, you can switch up what you're doing. So for me, I have this issue with my right hip, so kicking my foot out all the way to the right felt good on the other side, but on this side it's a little much. So I'm actually going to bring my right foot back down towards my mat, a little bit further from the left side of the room, back down towards the mat. So again, what works on one side might not work on the other side, and that's okay. If you have the range of motion, for the sake of congruity, you might want to do the same version on both sides, but it doesn't have to be that way, right? You're never forcing. And then just notice where you might be holding on to some tension in the body. Just draw your attention to those areas. See if you can send them a little love, just a little breath to whatever tightness you might be experiencing. Sometimes when I have trouble doing a posture or when a posture is painful, I take it personally, which is so silly to say out loud, right? But I take it personally, like something must be wrong with me. But again, it's about you. It's not about the posture. So if a posture is not working for you, that's really not a reflection on like your goodness, right? Or your value as a human. It's just like that in this moment, maybe your hip is tight, or maybe your ankle joint is a little bit swollen, or your shoulder's stiff, whatever it is. It's not a value judgment. It just is what it is. We're letting go of, assigning like good or bad to doing postures. And instead, we're just allowing ourselves to be exactly who we are in the moment. And that's a wonderful gift to give yourself. We've got about a minute left in cat pulling its own tail. In 26 and 2 Yoga, there's a quote that I don't say often, but Bikram, sometimes if you take his class, he's not the greatest guy in the world, but he has some wisdom. In 26 and 2 Yoga, he says, your whole life, somebody's been pulling your leg. Now you pull your own leg. And I think about that with cat pulling its own tail, right? Your whole life, somebody's been pulling your leg. Now you pull your own leg. Just a few more breaths. Take an inhale through your nose so you're in control. Exhale through your nose, never forcing or fighting. Breathe in and empty out. If you have caught your own tail, if you're pulling your own leg, release the grip on your foot. Start to straighten your left leg back. Bring your right leg back onto the right leg. You can keep right shoulder on top of left shoulder. And then as you're ready, roll over, right shoulder down, left shoulder down, arms and legs down. Savasana, puddle pose. Again, you can roll out, do any sort of stretches that feel good, maybe windshield wiper your legs. And then Savasana, arms and legs down, puddle pose, take a breath. Next, we're going to do a rounded spine posture, and I'm going to give you two different options. So one is called Snail Pose. In other styles of yoga, we would call it almost like a plow pose. It's a variation of a shoulder stand. And I'll show you how to get into that one. And if either you can't get into it or you get into it and you're like, nope, not today, I'm going to show you an alternative. Let's try Snail Pose first. Keep in mind that this is within the Yin Yoga canon. I don't do it often because I know that some folks are not big on any sort of like shoulder, neck pressure postures, but this is a posture that in Yin Yoga, they say you can hold for a couple minutes at a time. So again, I'll show you Snail Pose first, and then I'll give you an alternative. So for Snail Pose, you're going to bend your legs so your feet are on the floor. Bring your arms either out to your sides, or I like to bring my arms underneath me, palms face the floor. Make sure that there's nothing too close behind you, so I'm going to scooch back a little bit more. And from here, lift your feet up towards the ceiling. Practice pressing your hands into the floor a couple times, and then think about lifting your hips up. So I'm just going to rock up a couple times. Every time you want to try and lift your feet up to the ceiling and maybe back towards your head or the wall behind you. Just practice getting your butt off the floor. And when you've got a good one, you're going to push your hands into the floor and roll so that one day your feet touch the floor behind your head. And then from here, you can bend your knees so that your knees are close to your head. You can keep your palms on the floor. You can bend your arms so that your hands are at your lower back for support, or you can grab your heels with your hands and pull down. This is Snail Pose. We're only going to hold here for 2 minutes, but if 2 minutes is 2 minutes too long in Snail Pose, no problem. You can put your hands back down on the floor, straighten your legs, and roll out. And instead, you're going to slowly come up to a seated position. Sitting crisscross applesauce, I'm going to show you from the side. You're just going to drop your head and round forward. You can put your hands on the floor in front of you and just get a nice rounded spine here. We're already a minute in. If 1 minute is enough in Snail Pose, you can join me on your butt, rounding forward. If 1 minute is enough in this forward fold, you can join me in Snail Pose, lifting your hips up overhead, pressing the knees down, and take a breath. "30 seconds left. Even in Snail Pose, see where you can relax. So great stretch through the neck, shoulders, surrounded spine posture, gentle compression to the abdomen. We are bringing blood flow from the lower body towards the heart, from the heart towards the head. Take an inhale and an exhale. If you are on your butt, put your hands on the floor, slowly roll up, turn around, puddle pose. If you're in Snail Pose, straighten your legs if they're bent. Place your hands back down on the floor, palms face the floor. press your triceps into the floor, hands into the floor, and slowly roll out. Take your time. Arms and legs down. You can roll out any way that feels good. Puddle pose. Okay, we're going to finish with a short spine twist. Bring your arms out to the side. You can have your arms out to the side, or you can bend them, cactusing them like goalposts. Bend your legs so that your feet are on the floor, knees rest side by side, and start to roll to your right so that left hip stacks on top of right hip. Try to keep left shoulder on the floor. Cat pulling its own tail is a nice spine twist. So we've already done one today, so we're only going to do this one for a minute. I do always like to end class in a spine twist because it's so good for your digestion and it's so good for your back health. Especially for those of you that sit at a desk all day, you might have figured out by now that like standing up once an hour, putting your hands on your back and doing a little back bend is really, relief for the spine. But so are spine twists. So again, especially if you tend to sit down a lot, make sure that you're not just doing back bends, you're also doing spine twists throughout your day. It's really good for back health. Try to keep the left shoulder on the floor. Inhale through your nose. And exhale through your nose. Good. Slowly roll your left hip back down to the floor. And let's do the other side. Roll to your left. Right hip stacks on top of left hip. Try to keep your right shoulder on the floor. Just holding here for a minute. Inhale, feel your chest rise. Exhale, twist, let your right shoulder fall. Good, slowly roll your right hip back down, arms and legs down. Final puddle pose, final Savasana. Roll out your hips and legs. You are, again, welcome to place a blanket under your lower back. You can place a pillow under your head. You can put a blanket over your body. Sometimes I feel like in yoga, we become like Angela Merkel's, that is to say, austere, right? Like even the thought of a pillow under the head would be absurd, right? Like, but get as bougie as you want. You can put a blanket over your body. You can put a pillow under your head. It's your yoga practice. It is your body, right? Yin Yoga is all about honoring what you need in this moment, which is different from what you might needed yesterday. That's different from what you might need tomorrow. And it's different from, another practitioner in the same class. So this is all about trusting ourselves, listening to ourselves, honoring ourselves with every breath. Take an inhale through your nose. And then exhale through your nose. Let your hands and feet be heavy. And take a moment here and scan your body for any lingering tension. Scanning your heart for any lingering cares or worries. Inhale through your nose. Exhale through your nose. Let your hands and feet be heavy. Breathe in. And empty out. Inhale. Exhale. And all is coming. You can stay in your final puddle pose for as long as you'd like. You can even take a nap, right? Whenever you're ready, you can take your time slowly finding yourself back into a seated position.
Because we've been lying down for so long, if and when you do stand up, especially if you have low blood pressure, please make sure that you're standing up slowly. Make sure that you drink lots of water, and I hope to see you all very soon.